hello and welcome to Listening to Lancaster. My name is Jonathan Russell. I'm the Executive Director of Hourglass, and I am with Kevin Molloy from the Lancaster County Convention Center Authority. So thanks so much, Kevin, for being with us.
Glad to be here, John.
Excellent. So one of the things when this pandemic hit that I'm sure folks have been thinking about is tourism in Lancaster County. So how has that affected you? How's the pandemic? What's the last 5 months looked like? What does looking forward look like for you?
So to look forward, we got to start with the very beginning. Last October, the Convention Center Authority Board passed a very aggressive budget in both our investment in our operations, to our economic impact, to priority events, all the key metrics that we've been trying to achieve. So we were looking at 2020 as that breakout year. We've been very happy with the last couple, but we're really looking forward to going forward. And from January 1st to the 12th of March, things were humming. In fact, on March 12th, I can distinctly remember being in one of our lobbies off Queen Street. The place was bustling. It was fantastic. The next day was the Friday the 13th, and we didn't have anyone in the building. And we haven't had any significant events since that day. In fact, I would even go so far to say we've been empty. And we're trying to find what that future has. And we kind of look at it as three different ways. One is what the government permits us to do. Right now, the capacity is 25 people per event, and that includes staff. We're looking for guidance that increase that number when it's right to do so. And when we do so, we'll be able to have some events. Then the second part of it is the organizations that are renting it. And more than 75% of the clients that we have in this building or events we have in this building are for nonprofits. And those organizations are looking to find revenue to keep their operations sustainable for the next calendar year. So they need to make sure that they are setting themselves up to have enough attendance, enough registrations to cover their financial needs. That's just 75, 80% of our clients. So when you look at that way, that's a big piece for them to look at. But then the last one is each individual who's going to attend a conference is looking at their personal things. Do they have health concerns? What are their perceptions? What are their perceptions on Lancaster? What are their perceptions of the convention center? So we know we have a long road to go, but we're trying to make that a little easier for a lot of folks. CDC has their standards. We're trying to go a step above that with the Global Biorisk Advisory Council, GBAC, gbac.org for those who want to find it, and use their standards. And they're being adopted by a lot of public assembly facilities, whether stadiums, arenas, convention center, performing arts, as the standard to look forward for public events. And if you're looking to attend an event during this COVID environment, you may want to make sure though that venue is taking good precautions by adopting the Global Biorisk Advisory Council's STAR certification. And if they meet that, then you have a level of surety that's even greater than the CDC. So to answer your question, we're looking for the government, we're looking for some advancements in what's happening with COVID, whether that's vaccine or better numbers. We're looking for expansion from the government side, and we're looking for groups that want to have their event and the attendees to actually show up. I can't give you a timeline because a lot of that is just beyond our control, so we're just going to roll as best we can with it.
Gotcha. And I have a question here for you. Did you say there's a maximum of 25 attendees right now?
That's correct. About 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, that was the new standard. It was 250 and it went down to 25. Right. But also understand, that includes staff. So if you have 250 and you need 10 people to work, it's actually 240 attendees and 10 working. So there is some challenges in trying to manage all of that. And then you got to do social distancing and the like. And our staff is Interstate Hotels and Resorts who operates the convention center for us. They've done a great job of modeling different social distancing and various room setups, how folks would come into the building. They're doing a great job. So when the turn is yes, we can start working with our clients to have a safe and trying to meet all of their goals and objectives of their event.
Wow. So it's not There's a lot that goes into holding an event, and I'm sure that most people don't know the full depth of it. So I was supposed to get married in May,
Yeah.
and then now we're pushing it off to next May.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the number of vendors that are involved with this decision-making process, and then how many vendors, are the vendors themselves part of are comfortable with what's happening, and do they feel like they're being?
I'm going to even add another one. How many of those vendors are still in business?
That's absolutely
So
right.
if you are an event nonprofit, you need revenue to make your year go. You not only need attendees, you need vendors, the exhibit hall, and so on. And even if those vendors are going to are in business, do they see that as a very important piece of their business? What marketing do they have? What staffing do they have? Have they cut back their staffing so they don't have that? There's just so many pieces that come into this puzzle. It's really hard. And if I'm one of those nonprofits, and I'm only identifying those because they're 80% of our business, the challenge really becomes, how do we help them achieve their goals? And that is really a tough one right now.
Absolutely. And so in doing research for this interview, I came across Philadelphia, I think, Convention Center did a hybrid event.
Yes, they did.
Some of it was in person, some of it was online. And have you looked at doing something like that? And if so, what would it look like?
So first of all, both Philadelphia and Orange County Convention Center have done events like that. So we have pictures from that, the social distancing, understanding it. And I think that's what Philadelphia was really trying to do, is showing events can happen. And these are some of the things that need to happen. So meeting planners who are seeing this are trying to understand how it works for them. And they're rolling that out to some of their attendees and focus groups to kind of get their feedback, because that's how we're going to try to work this as an industry. How do we get folks to want to come back, and what's their level of comfort for both the organization to meet their goals and objectives and the attendees to meet their goals and objectives, and as we just talked about, the vendors to meet theirs as well. There's just so many pieces.
Absolutely. It's a complex puzzle.
Correct. And I got to tell you, we have Josh, and Jason working tremendously on the convention center side, and we're thrilled at the efforts they're doing and their ability to keep in touch with our customers. So as things shift, we can be responsive to those shifts.
Right. Absolutely. So one of the things that's been in LNP recently has been a discussion about finances of the Convention Center Authority.
Yeah.
Obviously, with hardly any events happening, there's not a lot of money coming in. Tell me a little bit about the finance picture.
Okay, big picture. The Convention Center Authority and the bonds that were used to finance the building of the Convention Center all are paid for through the lodging tax in Lancaster County, or actually the hotel room revenue tax. And that tax, because of COVID, has diminished. And you really have to feel for all those lodging professionals and those working that industry. That's also decimated quite heavily. So with the tax down, 80%, how do we make it up? So the CARES Act did have a provision that allowed for financing for public authorities. We applied for that, and we were able to cover our principal, our interest, and all those expenses just for the financing, not operations. So our expectation is, we're good through December 31st from the bank's perspective, no doubt about it. We do have some challenges, and I'm trying to understand what 2021 is, because I think if you talk to any of the lodging folks, I don't think they're seeing a 2019 level of year for them to occur in 2021. And if it isn't, then how do we address that? So we do have some homework to do in the future. We're very grateful to the county commissioners voting 3-0 to provide us with $2.9 million to help pay for those financing. We're also grateful to Bob Casey and Pat Toomey, or Senator Bob Casey and Senator Pat Toomey, for their efforts, as well as Congressman Smucker. They've all had a role in helping with that guidance, both from the U.S. Treasury right on through down to our county commissioners. And as I said, we're very grateful.
One of the things that has been in the newspaper a little bit as well has been CRS funding.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what CRS funding you've received? Is that part of this help with financing, or what does that look like?
So in 2014, so we're going back some, we did a collaboration agreement in our county, which had Discover Lancaster, the County of Lancaster, the City of Lancaster, the CRS Authority, and the Convention Center Authority to help us with our bond issue. And we had this very lengthy document. We all had our responsibilities. So the CRS piece had $5 million over, I think it was a 7-year period, that they were funding our furniture, fixtures, and equipment. That CRS funding, I believe the last payment was made earlier this year, which is allowing us to keep the building up and so on. So that has been a blessing. We've been thrilled about that. And you know, it's funny when you kind of look back in time. That CRS was actually developed in the lobby of the convention center with Mike Sturla, then State Senator Smucker, and Mayor Gray, and those folks, when we had a study done to the long-term financing for the Convention Center Authority, and they needed a new funding source, and that was bantered around. And that video is still available on our LCCCA website. It's kind of great to see now it's blossoming into so many other things that are helping our community. We're grateful that there's CRS in Lancaster County.
That is fantastic, and it really is a team effort to keep the Lancaster Convention Center up and running and doing what service it provides for the county. It's fantastic.
And if I can expound on that, in 2000, part of that collaboration agreement we talked about, it required an economic impact study to be done, and in doing so, HVS came in and they did a 2000. I think 15, 16, and 17 economic impact 3-year period. And they determined that it was roughly $30 million in economic impact from the convention center. That's wonderful. We're looking to bring them back in 21 to do the 2018, 19, and 20. So we do anticipate that 2020 is not going to look like all the other years, but it's just going to confirm, you know, is one thing when it's high and you confirm where it is, but you also have to confirm when it's low that you're not producing it. So we're looking forward to seeing those numbers, and it helps us understand going forward how we need to raise those back up again.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some of the numbers, I think we've talked about this in the past, of what economic benefit comes to Lancaster County from each person that stays overnight at the convention center. What is that number again?
So there's two numbers in there. One is those who lodge and they come from outside the county. So that's new dollars into our local economy. So that's a really important number. And then there's another number of those who are already in our county that day trippers, if I can call it that. So the day trippers, they're roughly $20, $21, and those who are coming from away is $160. Now understand that 160 is a bit of a blend because we have a blend of different events. Some events, people are 1 to a room, 2 to a room, some are 4 to a room, some are 6 to a room. But on average, they're all spending $160 a night. So our goal is to have as many folks from away come to our community, enjoy their event that they're going to at the convention center, as well as enjoy all the things that Lancaster County has to offer.
That's great. That's great. So one real quick here, we talked about it a little bit in the beginning of this conversation, but going forward, what is, obviously this is all dependent on how COVID shakes out here, but going forward, what are some different plans that you have in terms of how you move forward?
So when we talked earlier about the Global Biorisk Advisory Council, when we asked for funding from the commissioners and we got the $2.9 million for financing, we also asked for $379,000 to help us with what we call COVID safety expenses. And some of them you've probably seen, whether you go to the grocery store, 6 feet apart, the signage and all that sort of thing, updating our website, showing new diagrams, all those sort of things. Then there's the actual cleaning, preparation, setup. And then it's also the right equipment. So here's an example. Remember those water fountains you push and you put your mouth in and all that? Well, those are gone. You now have a bottle watering station. So we have to take out the bubblers and put in the bottle stations. So before, to save water, we used to have turn on water, turn off water at the sinks. Well, it's now put your hands underneath and it automatically. We've seen them many places. We just were trying to be as conservative on some of our use of water, but right now this is the priority of everyone having touchless faucets in the restrooms. We have some other things like hard surface seminar tables. So yeah, we may use linen when it comes to your wedding or some of those banquet situations and so on. But for those events that, at 8 o'clock you're in this room, and 9 o'clock you're at this room, and 10 o'clock you're at that room, you don't have time to change the linen every time. But you can do a wipe down on a hard surface. So we're looking to get hard surface tables for the seminar. So these will be rectangles, and it will help us in that environment to go flip a room from one to the other as folks are having their unique coffee station. Because coffee stations are going to be interesting too, as folks can no longer just do their own, mix their own with the, the sugar, the cream, and whatever else they're putting in there. Now we have to make it for them. There's just so many things. You see that at your local convenience store already. It's also in the convention world too.
You have to think of everything, right?
Oh, it is so true. And it's kind of interesting because you have to think in terms of the flow of the event. And how do we follow that flow to make sure the next event or the next use is ready to go, it's safe, and all those sort of things. So you're right, it does take a lot of homework. It may require, it's going to require more time between events. So if we're looking at the efficiency of use of building, it's going to diminish a little bit because we're going to have to build in separation between events to make sure we've done all the safety protocols that are in place.
Right. So one final question that we've been asking everyone that we do these interviews with, and that is during COVID, a lot of people have taken up different hobbies, tried different things. So what have you been doing?
My wife and I have been doing a lot of walking. We have a basin around back with all the ducks and geese, and one lap around that's a mile. So we try to, early in the morning, late afternoon after the sun sets. We're trying to get some steps in. We're trying to eat healthy. Heck, we're cooking at home. I got to tell you, there's a lot of times, hey, on the way home, pick up. Well, we're now cooking at home. So I'm sure we're not the only ones who are doing that, by the way. And the final thing, I don't know if I was grinding my teeth or whatever, but I lost 3 caps in the way during to my teeth.
No.
And I didn't want to go to the dentist. So I'm finally getting caught up on all that too. And like everyone else at the beginning, I started, binge watching everything from I almost called it Lion King. That's funny. But you know what I'm saying.
Tiger King.
Binge watching like everyone else.
Yeah.
And now that we're past that, I guess we have some sporting events, and I'm a big hockey guy, so the Stanley Cup playoffs are where I'm at these days.
Who's your team?
Boston Bruins, and they're not looking so good with their top goalie out, so who knows?
Yeah, I'm a big Penguins fan, so we didn't even make it into the actual playoffs.
Well, Sydney's playing golf today.
He's for first time in a long time, right?
Right on. He's a great player.
So wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Kevin, for taking time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, John. All the best.
All right, take care.